I think nothing happens on your own in the sense that we can't organize too many things in this world. For instance, the COVID also. We never thought that it would come. But how to handle it, I think, would be more appropriate, because when something comes to you, how does that body and mind try to say, this is your cup of tea? So that's what perhaps happened to me, because when I was, I had no great ambitions in life. I was a teacher in a school, and I used to tell children stories. And I think it was a very beautiful part when children suddenly got very interested in lessons because I was telling them a story. So, and then life went on, and I became a teacher at the Krishnamurti Foundation School, which is the Valley School. And once I became a teacher there, I was a social science teacher. Again, I was telling stories. And, things happen to you. Suddenly, some of the people thought, this is not the way to teach history, because I used to take children out from the classrooms. I used to take them to the radio station for an interview, or, to talk about the early man and things like that. And they used to climb up on the trees and listen to my lessons. So it was not lessons, it was stories. And then all the teachers, see, the mindset is very different of parents and teachers, of adults, I would say. They want a particular way only of doing something, right? So they said, no, this is not the way to teach history. You can't break away from what is classroom teaching. And they said, let's give us some other position. So they almost decided to remove me from the school. But the director had often seen me reading, because I grew up reading a lot of books. I grew up with stories. So naturally, it was part of me, I would say. So she said, let's give her the library. So there I was in the library, very quiet. And I thought it's a good time to read. Yeah. So I always remembered my father, who said, don't react to anything. Everything happens for a purpose. So just, respond to it. So I just thought once about my father, because I wanted to resign. I said, no, I don't want to continue as a librarian. But I remembered my father, and I think those are the destiny points, I would say, when I took up the librarian's job. And their children were not reading at all. So I said, okay, let me tell them a story, especially from the classics. So I would say, he walked and walked and walked and walked, and it was a still dark night. And suddenly, dung, the bell would ring. And all the children would say, tell us what happened next. And that's when I thought, why don't you take this book and start reading from this particular page, say page 42 or 43, and everyone would rush for that book. So I thought this is a good way of making children read. But this was again with a lot of purpose in my heart. Children began to read a lot. They came to the library very often. And then one of them who was listening, one was Girish Karnad's children were voracious readers. He was waiting to meet the director. And along with Girish Karnad was another friend of his. And she said, you know what? I think it's a beautiful way. Why don't you have a 1-week workshop in the city? So this was in 1996. And I said, all right. So she said, shall we call it creative writing? I said, maybe you can call it storytelling. Because at that time, storytelling was not still a big word. So we had a 1-week workshop in the city. And again, destiny, because 7 days, the first workshop was epics, legends. And the last day I kept for fables. And I told them the story of the hungry lion and the little mouse, right? So with a lot of voice modulations. And everyone went home, and one of the parents who picked up the child, he was from the Times of India. So next day I saw a column in the newspaper saying there are sounds coming from a room, and if you want to meet, this is a storyteller. And that's how the phone kept ringing, and my first offer itself was to teach 300 teachers the art of storytelling. So I think, as I said, the star was probably right above my head that day. And again, I just accepted it. I went to the director and I said, I'm resigning. But he said, after 1 year, you see how it is, because we really need you. But if you think you're not successful, you can always return. And of course, there was no looking back at all. Yeah, so initially what began for children, I would say, because I also had 35 years of experience with children in schools by that time. So not 35, 20 years. So then I thought, let me concentrate on children, how to make subjects interesting through stories. But what began, see, children are always ready to listen when you're, telling them a story or telling them something different, because those curious minds, right? But adults, the fixed mindset, right? So the teachers had to be convinced. So when I started with training, I said, teachers, I began with teacher training, and then a lot of media came in. I'm very thankful to media. India Today wrote a lovely article, and some corporate person who read the article said, why are you doing it only for teachers? Why not for adults? In the meanwhile, I'd also started thinking in my mind that I wanted to start an academy for training people in the art of storytelling. And again, destiny, because 2003, I had to go to US. And I said, let me go to US and attend this international festival. But I had no money. And, being a teacher, I put all the money into the trust. We started as a Kathalya trust. 3 teachers from the school resigned. And that's how we began Kathalaya. So what began initially with schools suddenly started growing, and we started earning a little money through training. Now, in 2003, there was a wedding actually, which I had to go. I actually did storytelling. I saved up the money for my plane fare, because uh, my friend said that she has relatives there and she can take care of my stay. So here I was in US. I was excited. Was very happy, and finished the wedding. And at that time, very strangely, we went. Both of us were voracious readers. We went to the Library of Congress in Washington, and there was a little thing. There was a little accident. We're carrying books, and a lady came from the opposite side, and I knocked into her. While both of us, Indians, we chat so much with each other. And she picked up all the books and she said, are you from India? And I said, yes. And she said, why don't you come and have a cup of tea with me? It's very rare. Usually they don't talk to strangers. But I went in, and it was written American Folk Life. So she was a director there. Her name was Peggy Bulger. And she said, you know what? You should go to the International Storytelling Festival. And I said, no, we can't afford it. Moreover, we've come for a wedding here. She said, no, 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 I'd write to you. So she wrote to Jimmy Nielsen. Of course, I had no, because they are very organized. And I said, forget it. I mean, let's return. And suddenly got a call again from Jimmy Nielsen saying, you will be the guest of honor at our festival. So I said, I'm coming with my friend. And he was so sweet. He said, you can come with your friend, your dog, your cat, whatever, but come for the festival. And he said he'll make arrangements. So there I was. I was a guest of honor, and nearly 10,000 people. And he was such a wonderful person. And suddenly I had this in my mind. I said, I want to start an academy for storytelling. I want to train people in the art of storytelling, because it's the adults who need it more than children. And he said, you got it. I said, can you give me an affiliation? And he said, of course. Just go home. And I also help you to organize the first international festival in India. So there I was back, and we had the first storytelling international festival ever. It went into the Limca Book of Records. And in 2003, I decided that I should start an academy for storytelling. And so he sent me this lovely affiliation letter, affiliated to the university there. But then, you see, at that time, I never thought how quickly he was able to do this, because it takes a long process, isn't it? Otherwise, And that's when I started my first batch. Of course, now we just completed online our 137th batch.
Oh, wow.
So we've completed 27 batches,
Oh,
all training adults in the art of storytelling. Yes. So, Kathalya, I said, I just, so after, I think we finished our 100th batch in 2016. That's when I went back to US. I went only to thank him. And there I saw in Tennessee that everything was named after him. I was very surprised. And he said, how do you think you got the affiliation? Because I was thrice the mayor of this place. And
oh.
that's how, see, again, luck. So a lot of luck, destiny, and effort, I think all three go together to do, I mean, to make what you have to establish. And, yeah? And Kathalya has then spread Ministry of Sweden, even from Norway and from Munich, Germany. People came forward to take our centers, to tell me to come and train people in their universities. So I think travel has been, I mean, a lot of travel after that. So nearly 43 countries traveling to all over the world. And it also humbles you a lot. And I still, of course, love the Himalayas because every time I go, I look as tiny as an ant. It reminds me of my ego also. Yeah, right. So that's Kathalaya's story very briefly. A lot of obstacles, but
Great.
somehow it has continued to hold on. As I said, children have a sense of wonder. That's the main quality about them, and hopefully, now with the digital age, I'm a little worried about that because everything is given, right? So I wonder if they have time to ask questions. But doubting and questioning is that curious little mind. If you see most of our discoverers, scientists, explorers, they were all curious from their childhood and they wanted to know why is it that the thunder, there's a sound, why is there lightning, why is the sky blue, why is it limitless? So a lot of questions that children have. Sometimes they're very uh, irritating questions. Why only the crow is black, for instance? Why not other birds? Who created these birds? So these curious minds cannot take data for an answer. You cannot say that the bird variety is so and so. That's it. Science sometimes the lessons are boring when you have just the wingspan saying this is the height, this is the weight, these are migratory birds. If you tell them a story and then tell them the facts, they might be interested because for them it is the story that is going to uh, hold them, and it transmits into their minds because they have very imaginative minds. They can see the story. So once they see the story, they're very happy and it's for lifetime. This is something beautiful about a story because they say that even through janmas, people have remembered stories. Yeah, so for instance, if you take Bhagavat in our Hinduism, Vyasa's son Shukar, he already, you see, they have previous births, they have previous karmas. And so Shukar was the one who was destined to tell the story to Parikshit. So you see, storytellers also have this karma, this DNA, and this thing that comes into them. Yeah. So stories are so powerful. They look seemingly very light, but they are very powerful because they shape the mindset of the children. So the children's mindset, they're looking at you, they're grasping every part of it, and it gets into their heads. Now, if you tell them through statistics, through mundane lessons, it's going to be very boring. And that's why nothing stays. So when that curious mind is open and fresh, a story can be the best for you to impart to them what I would call they listen and learn at the same time. And they don't mug it up. It's not information. Today, what we're getting through the media, Lord, is information, not learning. Yeah. So we'll have to see pedagogically what is suitable for the child and accordingly choose the story that they may want to listen to. And even if they're running around, I think it's a very impressionable age. And so I think it's very important to tell stories to children. Yeah. And the more they question, the more they doubt, better it is. So one of the things what we have in our custom is Neti theory, which is what is not is. So let's remove all that is negative. Suppose I'm a parent. Yes, I'm a mother. And I say, I'm going to attend a storytelling course or a storytelling workshop. I want to know how to tell stories. After learning everything, you still sit down and your tone is the same. Like you tell the child, sit down, I'm going to tell you a story. For how long have I been telling? Sit down. Don't you like stories? You should like stories. Okay? So now the tone, my tone is very aggressive. My tone is very advisory. My tone is full of expectations, mainly. Yeah. So I'm saying my neighbor's child, that child, that one, this one, everyone can tell a story except my child. Yes. So no comparison. So what all you should remove? No comparison, no expectations. Okay. Once both, and no severe tone. Have to be very patient. So if these three main things are removed, so you're not telling them, see, have you learned something from this? No morals. Just tell them a story. Just tell them a story. No fringes. No outer ring road, inner ring road, nothing. Just tell them the story. And if they haven't listened, it's fine. Because something must have gone inside their heads. You know, it happens with music. When you keep playing music, I don't have to know the rag. I don't have to know who is singing. And it's just playing. Maybe after many years, I might want that same music. And then I might ask my mother, which I did recently. After 35 years, I asked my mother, what was that you used to play in the background? Yes. Who was that? Yeah. So tell them a story. Just tell them a story. And if you tell them with sincerity, with all your heart, and of course, see, children love animations, right? Today we are in an animated world. So add a little voice, expressions, yeah? Bring that character alive. And if you know music, sing along. Yes, sing your story. Make a poem of your story. Change your voice, but do it passionately. Yes, just tell them. As you're offering food, go after them and tell them the story. You know, so it's your effort. You cannot tell a story like the way you would talk to another adult, isn't it? It cannot be that casual. You know what happened yesterday, that man in the opposite house. You can't tell them like that, right? You have to put a little more expressions. So action, expression, voice, sounds. So for this, you can learn a little bit from courses like what we offer, from workshops. So equip yourself. Take it seriously. Take it seriously. Take it seriously, but be light. I know it's very, very ironical. You be serious. When you tell the story, make it very comfortable so that you're not stressing the child out. Someone said, oh my God, I'm feeling so stressed because I have to go for yoga class now. Now, the main idea of yoga class is to de-stress, right? Yes. So there's no point in getting stressed about it. Yeah. So you need to be very calm, patient, composed, because that's how children are, right? They are our biggest challenges. So, and don't compare. You just find out your strength. What is your strength? Simple tone. Just tell a story. But very, 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 very important. You must read. Reading. If you don't read, you cannot get stories, isn't it? So reading, very essential. 1 page a day. In fact, children imitate. When you read, they will also read. So pretend to read at least. Just open a book. Keep books around you. Yeah. So children would like to at least dabble with the smell of the books. I know there's Kindle now and all, but I'm going my old-fashioned way. It still helps. Yeah. So reading definitely broadens the horizon, improves your pronunciation, your language. So when you tell a story, all that matters. Yeah. Hone your skill.